Please welcome to the stage Dean Anuj Mehrotra and our distinguished guests.
All right, thank you. Well, good evening, everybody. I am Anuj Mehrotra. I am the Dean for the Scheller College of Business, and I'm delighted to see a full house here for a very special guest today. I'm also delighted, and it's a distinct pleasure to welcome both of you here. Ted Decker, Chair, President, and CEO of the Home Depot, and Fahim Siddiqui, who is the Executive Vice President and CIO at Home Depot. Welcome. Welcome to the Georgia Tech Scheller College of Business.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Welcome. So we were having a conversation downstairs, and I thought that, you all saw the swag from Home Depot kept out there. I hope you pick it up on the way back. I already kept a couple in my, I already saved a couple for myself. But really, I thought you were going to get us those aprons so that we can all wear one. You're missing an opportunity here of marketing. Well, what is special about that apron? Why didn't you bring us some?
Well, what I really should have brought you were 2 or 3 college game day scarves from Dublin. How about that? Was that?
Wow, yeah,
good. I mean,
way to go. That was a great game.
Congratulations, you all. I mean, that was just fantastic. Kickoff weekend, as you know, college game day for us is huge. I think it's our 22nd year, and everything was painted orange and green until it was Georgia Tech gold and white who rocked the afternoon. So congratulations to you all.
Thank you, thank you.
But you mentioned the apron. So the apron, you all know the Home Depot apron, and we all wear it proudly. And the apron, really speaks to our culture and our values and what we'd like to think about as radical helpfulness. We talk about being apron to apron with fellow associates and customers in the aisles of the store. And if you look closely at the Home Depot apron, there are 2 symbols on it that represent our values and culture. One is the values wheel, and that there are 8 values that we've had for decades of really how we run the company. It's things like respect for all people and giving back to our communities, building strong relationships, creating shareholder value. They're the true values that we look to help us make decisions as we run the company. And then the other symbol that's on the apron is the concept of the inverted pyramid. And the inverted pyramid is really our leadership model. And what the inverted pyramid is, it's just what it sounds like. So you think of most organizations are a pyramid. You think of a military organization or a normal corporation, and you have frontline workers, and as you go up to the top of the pyramid, you have the leadership team of the company or the organization. And our founders, to symbolize sort of servant leadership, they literally inverted the pyramid. So on our aprons, the pyramid is inverted, and on the very top are our customers, and then our frontline associates, and then what we call we don't have a headquarters, we have a store support center. We all exist to support the frontline associates so they can support the customers. And at the very bottom is the executive team. So we literally, our responsibility is to support the front line. And it's a leadership principle that speaks of humility and servant leadership, and everything we do is for the front line.
And it also really exemplifies servant leadership. We heard a lot about servant leadership, and I've now been here with the company for 6 years. And what I've learned the most is what really makes it tick is servant leadership. So actually there is, at the bottom most of the pyramid is the CEO.
And so you work hard all life, and then you are at the bottom of the pyramid.
And then
so I can resonate with that. That's the case in academia for sure.
Yeah.
So
work your way to the bottom.
Work your way to the bottom. That's a good motto right there. Interesting. I did not realize that the apron actually had so much more to it than what meets the eye in a regular, common person there. But that's very interesting. So, when I think about Home Depot, I think about home improvement. I think about small projects. I think about my wife sending me to go get some nails to put some on the wall so that we can put some pictures. But Home Depot is a lot more, right? I mean, there is a whole renting business. There's a whole online business. So there's like so many things. So tell us a little bit about the company. Give us a little bit of an overview of the company, and then maybe I'll have a follow-up question on that.
Okay, wow. What would be some quick facts? And it's interesting, even folks in Georgia, I don't necessarily believe completely understand the scope of Home Depot. So we are like the 19th or 20th largest company in the United States, $160 plus billion in sales. We're nearly. We have 2,300 stores. We're #1 position in Canada, Mexico, and the United States. So we're not really international. Beyond that, we have extensive sourcing out of Asia and China and European countries. We have the 5th largest online business in the United States. No one would ever guess that. We have a $20 billion online business, which puts us, behind Amazon and a couple others at number 5. What else, Fahim? We have a pro business. Half of our business is serving professional contractors. You mentioned a rental business. We have the 2nd largest rental business in the United States.
And we have created a full pro delivery business. So you think of the Home Depot and you think of the big orange box, which is core to our business, and the customers come in. But over the last 5 years now, we have built a full delivery business where we are close to home, close to you. So same day, next day delivery on assortment is available. And actually, even the online business, what's unique is it's really interconnected business. If you think of online, everybody thinks of those Amazon vehicles, which deliver some stuff. What's very unique about us is not just the value, but half of the stuff that you buy online is either picked up in stores or delivered from stores. So it's a full end-to-end interconnected business. But 80% of the customer journeys, they either start on the application or on the web. And then the person shows up in the store, or they buy online as they want to.
But 450,000 associates, market capitalization of $360-odd billion. And then my favorite fun fact is when you think of all the global brands in the world. So this is third-party marketing research company, Kantar, that ranks all the brands in the world. And so when you think, who are the greatest brands in the world? Apple and Mercedes-Benz and Siemens, not just US, like all the brands in the world, just the pure intrinsic value of that mark, that logo, that brand. The Home Depot is the 20th most valuable brand in the world, just that mark. So just an incredible organization that we're proud to call Atlanta home, in partner with tech so much. Obviously, that was a sales pitch for all of you to come work at Home Depot, but we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of just terrific tech alumni at Home Depot, adding so much value, and we cherish this partnership.
So I think we cherish that partnership a lot as well. I was looking at some of the stats from all across tech in various different dimensions on how much we partner with Home Depot and what kind of economic impact beyond Atlanta that we are having together because of such partnerships. So thank you for that, and I think it's a great opportunity, obviously, for our community, not just at Scheller, but entire Georgia Tech, to be partnering with Home Depot. It's a lot of weight when you have 450,000 associates and you are at the bottom of the pyramid. But I'm reminded more of a question because yesterday we had the opening bell for our undergraduate students who have just come into Scheller, and so we have this very nice event where Paul Brown, who was the Inspire brand CEO, he was there. Guy. And I'm reminded that you are talking about these different businesses. In a very strange way, if you look at all his brands, there are all so many different brands, and yet there is something about Inspire brand that is there. Just like at Home Depot, you're talking about the power of your brand. You have many, many different types of competitors, depending on what you're talking about, whether you're talking about home improvement or whether you're talking about, online stores and whatnot, right? So you have very different competitors who are very focused. How do you create that brand? What is your strategy behind having that kind of an experience which is seamless, where we as consumers still think of Home Depot, very, very clear and clean brand? So how do you do that when you're combining that and having very, competing with very niche areas, so to speak, in comparison?
Yeah, so the fundamental proposition, business value of the company is that we put under one roof the entire assortment. So it seems normal now that you go to a big box retailer and you get this broad assortment, but in the late 70s, when the founders started the business model, the real breakthrough idea was that under one roof, you put broad assortment. So you used to have to go to the hardware store, the paint store, the garden store, the lumber store, et cetera. Now you could go to one place with this incredibly broad assortment. You could get great customer service, so that apron experience to it's know-how, it's do-it-yourself. It's teaching people how to do these projects. It isn't just, tell me where something is. There's often questions of how you do your project. And then there's great value, so there's everyday low price. And when you think of most retail models, to this day, most retailers, in fact, nearly every retailer has two of those three things. So if you go to a high-end boutique, you're going to get great product assortment in service, but you're going to pay for it. And if you go to a discounter, you're going to get great product assortment in value, but you're not expecting service at a discounter. At Home Depot, that was the magic of the model. So the idea is if you're focused on delivering that every day, regardless of your customer set, there can be a pro, there can be a consumer, there can be someone who's just interested in garden, there can be someone who just is interested in shopping with us online. If you're always focused on that, we call it the three-legged stool of our value proposition, and deliver that, you're going to delight all those customer sets.
So, last week, or maybe it was a couple of weeks ago, I was reading a comment from you, or you were quoted for some about the economy, that you're seeing some of the consumers being a little bit soft in terms of their spending on home improvement projects, which kind of like suggests something. So in this particular case, you are kind of in a position to imagine that, okay, there may be some economic issues coming our way. But COVID happened, and you couldn't have predicted that easily, right? Or there was a housing collapse earlier when you had. So there are these major variations that are occurring for a company of your size, and the company which is really critical to the whole infrastructure, so to speak, at least from a consumer perspective. That's a big variation. How do you plan for that variation? How can you adapt to and be resilient when such changes are occurring?
Yeah, well, that's a lot in that question. So you have to plan. So we do medium range, long-term planning, and then shorter, next year financial planning. So there's lots of different planning cycles. And as you think through a plan and do scenario analysis, you're thinking about various variables, but none of that's ever going to come as you plan. So we've really learned you've got to be agile, just for the reasons you said. As big as we are, we have to be very agile, and technology plays such a huge part of this now, Fahim, and our ability to react to these market forces.
And really, when we look back at what we have seen, and when we look at the Home Depot, operational excellence is something that's baked in. Customer service is what you see every day, but operational excellence is something that we invest in and ensure. By Cube, we run one of the largest supply chains in the US. That supply chain means that we can actually focus and refocus. I'll give you an example, for instance. When we place an order for something to come into our stores, that order is placed with a vendor, but it does not directly go to the stores. It arrives at what we call our rapid distribution centers. These rapid distribution centers are just crosstalks. And they have lanes for each of the suppliers on one side and lanes for each of the stores that they serve on the other side. And that order might have been placed 2 weeks ago. But when that order arrives, we resort the order and rebalance it based on the immediate need that each of the stores have, and it gets rebalanced and reallocated and deployed. And no sooner does it arrive, and as we fill up the truck going to that facility, it's dispatched. That's operational excellence. When you buy an appliance from us, we don't stock any appliances, except for a very small amount. As you're whether you go in the store or you are on the app, we actually look up the inventory from each of the appliance manufacturers in real time. And we see what is available in the model that you're looking for. And then when you tell us where you want it, we look up what the delivery date is, and we give you a slot. That appliance will arrive only the evening before or the day before it is delivered to you.
Wow.
And that's just in time. So we do not carry any appliances on our balance sheet. And we are able to, in a real time, deploy that. In fact, 80% of the software that runs the company operationally, we actually develop ourselves. We have more than 9,000 technologists in the company. Of them, more than 5,000 people write code. And that's just remarkable. In fact, I see one of our technology leaders here, Kedrick. He heads up a significant part of our technology in the team.
So that's amazing. I can tell you, I have visited one of your crossdocks, and it's an amazing operation. I agree with you that it's amazing. And a lot of concepts that you're talking about, which theoretically made sense to me, but in practice to be able to do that is yet another thing. So that's congratulations. That's great. So you mentioned some of the, if when you order something online, you're going to get something delivered just a day before that, before it's delivered to you. Your e-commerce business, Fahim, has grown. And you are one of the largest e-commerce sites right now. And I guess your most major competitor is Amazon at this point, if I'm not wrong, but I could be wrong about that. So tell us about that growth and how you diversified and then and found this opportunity to be able to adapt and get into the e-commerce side of it.
It's not e-commerce itself has been more than a 10-year journey for us. And when the company, and that was before I was here, and Ted can correct me on that, there was some skepticism. Will people really buy home improvement goods online? And will that work out? And we started small. But as we saw this actually taking on, we really quickly pivoted and evolved to this interconnected model. So it was not just about an online business and a store business. It was about the customer. And we really pivoted that to say, what does the customer need? And our customers they would come to us either with some inspiration or they need to fix something. So how do we digitally deliver that best-in-class experience through our online tools, but then seamlessly carry it into the stores? And for that, there was things to the effect that we actually went and wrote our own custom search engine. And it's an AI, vector, and semantic search engine that we have developed. Why did we do that? Because people come and want to really look for concepts. They want to look for that contemporary light or that contemporary faucet. That's not something that's always described in every faucet that there is. And as we evolved that journey, the facilities that we put together, the supply chain that we put together, and the connectivity to the store that we brought in, collapsed it into a seamless journey itself. And now you can order something online and pick up on the store. But when you think about what it takes capturing an order, knowing the inventory in that store, carrying that order to an associate who will pick up that order, stage it, and if you are doing curbside pickup, we know when you arrive out there and we can bring that order to you. That requires real coordination amongst many technology stacks and ensuring that we can actually serve you. And that interconnected journey really anchors us in how we develop technology and deliver on that.
So would I be right in saying that really you are trying to stay ahead of the customer expectations because of this interconnected operational excellence that you have created?
It's an interconnected journey for sure. Fahim gave a couple of the stats that over 60% of all journeys start online. Our online penetration of an order is only 15-odd%. But everyone's starting that journey at some point online. And then of the 15% that is transacted online, 50% is picked up in the store. So it is very much a customer journey between our digital properties and our store properties, maybe delivery, maybe installation, returns. So that it has to be in a whole journey that is digitally enabled. And again, the technology team has done such a great job with this. Thank goodness you had rebuilt the online tech stack right before COVID hit, because our online business doubled in 12 months. And so we had just completely rebuilt the entire tech stack. We had just gone to the cloud. And we used to really struggle to get through one day of Black Friday and Cyber Monday pre-2019. And so that's why we said, well, we've got to upgrade this for future traffic. Had we not done that, there's absolutely no, we were doing multiples of Black Friday traffic every single day as we were doubling the business, and the technology withstood it all. We didn't have a single out. And the supply chain responded, again, that agility of the supply chain where you just double volume overnight at this scale of business is quite an undertaking.
So most other industries had major challenges with supply chain during COVID, right? So you all somehow were able to still
we had our issues, but did better than most, thankfully.
Right. Yeah. Well, great. So you mentioned artificial intelligence. You mentioned technology. Tell us a few more examples of how consumer experience and other aspects you're using generative AI, and what can we be thinking about in the future where Home Depot's generative AI is going to play a role in how we make our choices?
Well, we're using it everywhere. We had a full day actually last week with the team on all the different use cases of AI, and I think you said we have something like 265 teams.
We have 265 use cases.
Use cases that are active, and it goes from our search engine, as Fahim said, where we used to outsource that search engine to Google. And our teams developed a superior, for our product, as we should. We have more knowledge about the product. I'm not suggesting we're better technologists than Google, but for our use cases and our search, in sort of a bake-off, our team's solution was superior. So we do everything from the vector search Fahim talked about to the biggest opportunity for us when you think about knowledge. You come to Home Depot for knowledge, and you get that from an associate. And increasingly, that knowledge is going to have to be delivered online. So we talked about the apron earlier. What we talk about now at Home Depot is called the Magic Apron. And the Magic Apron will be those same solutions. So imagine all the knowledge of Home Depot, all our product knowledge, product specifications, how do you install something, how do you repair something, what is that 40-year master electrician or plumber, what knowledge do they have? We have to put all that on our digital assets, because searches will be solution searches. It's already happening. You don't search for a product and get relevancy and product returns. It's really the question, it's not plumbing repair part in the search bar. It'll be, how do I fix my leaking sink or faucet? And so the reply has to be the solution. So that's one of our strongest use cases. But then there are tons of productivity use cases, call centers, co-pilots to help agents answer questions. I mean, the 264
Another
cases.
one I'm very excited about personally is, now each of our on-shift store associates have a handheld device. And like anywhere, retail has a lot of turnover. And the person who comes in day one, and they've got 4 hours of training, and now they are there, and they have to help the customer. We are bringing all that knowledge now, and all the SOPs and the product knowledge on those handheld devices to the associates. And they will be able to ask a question about, how do I do something, or how do I help a customer, or where do I find something? Married to that, we have actually rolled out machine vision in all 2,000 of our stores. And what we do today, we do image capture so that we will know where things are at in the overheads. But we are now rolling out with NVIDIA technology, actually capability to capture the video of entire stores, process the best frames, and then identify what products are missing, where there's a hole, and where that product is at, and then assign the work to the associate to bring it down. And eventually, we'll give it to the customer to say, where do I find something? So this starts becoming really powerful for productivity and for customer service and support.
This is very interesting, although I must complain about this information being available because now my wife thinks I don't need a plumber because I should be able to read it on the online and can be able to fix all the leaks myself.
Absolutely.
So this has become a big problem. I used to go to Home Depot just to be able to have some conversations with people who were helping me, and now it's become so. Anyway, so this is great. So one of the questions I always like to ask, it's on top of mind of many CEOs and many companies, is about climate change, sustainability measures, and I wanted to ask you where Home Depot's mindset is on that.
Well, our mindset is we talked about the values, and we've lived values for 45 years now, and we just truly have remarkable founders. They're based here in Atlanta. I'm sure you've all heard of Arthur Blank and Bernie Marcus, just truly revolutionary leaders beyond the business model that I described. And from day one, they came up with those concepts of the inverted pyramid for a leadership model in the values wheel. So, Bernie used to always say, if we take care of our associates and they take care of the customer, everything else will take care of itself. And we've always had, again, with those values, to give back to our communities, build strong relationships with our partners, suppliers. It isn't a combative relationship. It's always been a collaborative relationship. So these notions of, do you have a strong culture? Do you have a purpose? Companies, what's our purpose? What are your values? What's your brand stand for? What's your response to the climate and the environment and social and governmental, the ESG portfolios of issues and initiatives. The great news for us is we didn't have to go to the well on any of this stuff. It was all just part of the brand, the culture, in the business model. So you think of companies that literally hire branding consultants and purpose consultants. And I mean, that would be so anathema in Home Depot to think that we would need people to come in and have focus groups so we could come up with a purpose statement. I mean, our purpose, we are who we are, this genuine, authentic brand. And so when all the reporting requirements and the things that have come out over the years, it was more of an opportunity to demonstrate, because we're always, we don't really talk about it that much, because once you start talking about things, well, then it's hard to say you're authentic. But when you're asked then, well, what do you do? We're like, well, we'd love to tell you what we do, and our giving back and veterans causes, for example, are our primary initiative with our foundation. We had a goal to give $500 million to veteran causes. We surpassed that 2 years early. We've increased that to $750 million. We've done loads of work with our suppliers to take out, harmful chemicals and packaging from the supply chain. We did LED lighting in the store, years and years ago. Our footprint, our energy footprint of our store is half of what it was 10 odd years ago. So we've done all these things in the normal course, and we haven't had to react or come up with a solution or a marketing campaign to talk about what we've always done.
Awesome, this is great, and we're so proud that you are in Atlanta, headquartered here, and you are, or you don't call it headquarters, but you are
Store
here.
support center.
Yes. But at this point, I'm happy to take questions from the audience. If you do want to ask a question, please go to the mic and stand there. When I have a chance, I will do that. But before I ask you, and I'm going to also go ahead, and before I ask for your advice to the students and to the alumni, let me take some advice for myself. You're describing something at Home Depot which has been, everything has been running very well. There were things that you inherited as CEO, and oftentimes I'm asked the question, what my vision is, et cetera, or what is my most important priority coming in as dean, and my answer was always, everything is fixed, I just hope I don't screw things up. Yes. So is that where you are, or what is your vision for the future?
I'm in the same place. I'm in the same place. No, we talked about this last week. As leaders at the Home Depot, we truly are blessed to have inherited one of the great business models and brands and value creation stories, truly in the history of American business. And our job is, number one, don't screw it up, to your point. But make it better make it better in a relevant manner for the next generation of baby boomers are still the number one spend in our store. That's where most of the projects come from. But that customer base is sort of retiring from home improvement. And the next generations will pick up the mantle. So we have to improve the company in a way that is relevant for that next consumer, which we can talk a lot about consumer and consumer behavior, but it's very different from a baby boomer. And we have to make that robust while we hand it off to the next generation of leaders. That's our principal responsibility.
Great. So I had around 2,000 questions here that people had submitted now, but clearly there's another 1,000 here in the line, so I'm going to stop asking my questions. If you could go ahead and state your name and then just a very short, quick question so that we can get as many as possible.
Sure. Ted, Fahim, thank you so much for coming and talking to all of us here today. My name's John Hobbs. I practice patent law, and I specialize in software, so I'm really interested to hear more about how you're planning to implement more of artificial intelligence into supply chain and also in-store retail.
IPR.
So, yes. So actually, we have been really engaged in artificial intelligence over the last 12 years or so, incredibly. We actually have more than 50 PhDs who work in AI PhDs, if there's such a thing. Of course, they come in a data science or mathematics or computer science background. But they work on many different AI programs. In supply chain itself, just the flow of goods for us, given the lead times internationally, nationally, to where they need to get to, and when do we order, and how do we make sure that always, when you walk into a Home Depot, one thing you should observe, the store should always look at and feel not empty, but full. If you look down the bay, it should be ready for business, and to make that happen, you have to know at a SKU store level how much of what has to be ordered when, from whom, to get it in time. You don't want too much, but you never want too less. And that all is based on AI and machine learning, and that's what we continue to invest in. Beyond that now, the linkage between knowing the answer in some mathematics to getting the answer to the right person, Gen AI is what's coming in. So that now you can bring the two together so that we understand the intent of a question and we don't have to look at dashboards, but ask the question, query the data, understand the models, and deliver on that. And that's we continue to invest in that.
Based on that, I think a lot of Georgia Tech students will be joining Home Depot, continuing to join Home Depot for sure.
I'm now sharing with, earlier with Ted. Actually, in our store support center, these are corporate jobs, if you will. Employee engagement and associate engagement is always a challenge. I have never seen this level of happiness in any other company. Our associate engagement at the whole in store support center exceeds 90%. And these are based on confidential survey that we do every year and every 6 months. And that's just incredible. That shows the ethos of taking care of our people, which is a core value for us.
Go ahead, please.
Hi, thank you both for coming here. Jacob Tomaskovich, first year full-time MBA student. I've been a homeowner for about 7+ years now, so Home Depot is like one of my probably my largest budget buy item. One thing I love about Home Depot is like as a DIY type person, I feel like I have the tools and resources to go and fix things myself. So just curious, internally as a company, how do you cultivate that culture? How do you encourage your employees to take ownership of their work and to foster that DIY mentality?
Well, for the store support center associates, being out in the stores is a big part of what we do. We're in the stores all the time. We refer to Sacred Thursday. So all our merchants are always with suppliers. We're in stores with customers on Thursday. Our supply chain teams are out. Everybody's out. Our legal teams are out. So we have to stay connected with the store. Our founders used to always say, any answer to any problem or any opportunity that we're trying to accomplish, the answer's in the store, and you just have to be in the store. And I'm amazed at the disconnect that corporate staffs in so many other type companies, just aren't in their principal business. But that's something we do and have always done, is put our aprons on and be in the stores.
Right?
Good evening. My name is Robert Ed. I am a prospective graduate student in the Schiller School of Business. I'm a retired military officer specializing in small business initiatives. With that, I have two questions. One, how much cooperation does the Home Depot have with small business development and supplier diversity? My second question is, are you at some point looking at innovating your store locations and even your corporate offices to be LEED certified? That's as far as climate, that goes in tandem with climate change.
So for engagement with small suppliers, absolutely. We work with a number of small suppliers. It's where a lot of product innovation comes from. And the suppliers often need a lot of help, because if they would even get the purchase order from Home Depot, we're just so massive and can overwhelm them. So we have entire teams that reach out and work with small suppliers on how they navigate an organization as large as we are. And on LEED, I mean, we're not LEED here in our store support center buildings. We built those buildings in, when did we build those, Fahim? We built them in '97 or something, so it wasn't where you build a LEED certified building. But as I said, we're trying to lower our footprint all the time, and what we've done in our stores, lowering the energy footprint, transportation, I mean, all the statistics. You can see those in our website, the amount of miles driven in things that we've taken off the road as we've consolidated transportation. So it's super important to us.
Right.
Hello, my name is Darius Solis. I'm a liquidator. And a letter that investors you sent earlier this month, you said that you expect sales to slump 2 to 3%. And in all perspective things, that's not a lot. But if you measure that against net revenue, I think in April of 2024, I think net revenue for Home Depot was 9.71%. So that's a considerable amount. When that comes into context, how do you think that will affect your liquidation arm of the business, and what efforts are you taking to grow that and expand that further?
I'm sorry, the liquidation arm?
Yeah, truckloads, things that aren't sold or returned goods.
Oh, okay, the return logistics centers. So, I mean, clearly we'd want to get comparable sales up. We talked about the COVID, and Home Depot had a huge spike in sales, so we doubled the online business. We grew the top line over 45%. So the last 2 years, we're definitely moderating down 2-3%. Goal number one is to get that back as a positive comp. The total sales are positive because we're building stores again. That's contributed to total growth. We've made some acquisitions, and that's contributing to total growth. And in terms of liquidation, there's a whole, as we talked about, that interconnected cycle of returns. We're trying to optimize, for landfill purposes, as well as, maximizing revenue and profit for us. What product goes back to shelf? What goes to our centralized returns? What we can sell wholesale to liquidators. So there's a whole program, and we call it a reverse supply chain, that manages all that activity. And as you can imagine, it's billions of dollars and millions of cube.
Great. So I wanted to ask less about Home Depot and more about you guys and your stories. What is the best advice that you've ever received as an aspiring CEO or businessman or woman?
Ooh, best advice. There's so much. Just broadly on as you think about career, I would say find something that is an intersection. I mean, this might sound obvious, but it's super important. Find something that is an intersection of your interest, passion, with something you're reasonably good at. Like my being a concert pianist might be a passion, but that wouldn't have worked out for me. So truly, find something you're passionate about that you actually can be good at. And then as you go through your career, realize you're going to make mistakes, and starting in school and through your career, and just own your mistakes immediately. Just take ownership for them. Never look for an excuse, and the people around you will respect that, and you'll move on quickly because we all make mistakes, and then you'll learn from it. So those would be two of the strongest
Oh, those
bit of
are
advice
excellent
I got.
ones. They resonate with me for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, I'm Rory King. I'm also a freshman at Scheller. My question is, so you mentioned mistakes being really important. I want to know, what's your most important mistake / failure, and what did it teach you?
Oh, the list is long. I mean, Fahim, well,
I did a startup. I raised $20 million in technology, spent 3 years on it, built a device, did not have a good go-to-market plan on it, and folded it. And what I learned from it was I didn't spend enough time asking my customers what they really wanted. I spent the time trying to build what I thought needed to be built.
Right. So we have probably just to respect their time, maybe the people who are standing are going to the final questions. So please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Milo Carnes. I'm also a first-year student, but I'm not in business. I'm an aerospace engineering student.
I'm loving this freshman class.
Wow, this is
Everybody's
awesome.
coming up
Yeah.
and asking questions. Yes.
But there's been a lot of talk about AI and how that's going to impact the future of Home Depot. But you guys also mentioned the interactions that people have when they come in the store and they talk with you guys. How do you foresee maintaining that kind of homey aspect that you get at Home Depot, those interactions that people value when they come into the store, while also incorporating more AI into the processes that you guys are having?
well, we spend a ton of time. I know Charles Wilson's here on your advisory board. In fact, we spent hours and hours today with our operating leaders to talk just about that, because people do come to Home Depot for solutions and inspiration. And if you come to the store with all this wonderful technology and apps and online, if you come to the store, you want two things. You want to talk to someone who knows what the heck your problem is, and then the product to be in stock. You took the time to drive there. So we spend a lot of time of how do we get the right folks, get them the right training, make sure we're staffed appropriately for the appropriate activity in the store. And it's Charles, it's a whole body of work, but it's one that we know customer service at the end of the day remains our key differentiator. We'll always have great product at great prices, but we have to maintain that customer service and that connection that supports that brand value, because that is what's behind the brand value. The 450,000 associates is what creates the brand value, and that's job one for all of us.
Thank you.
Great.
Great question.
Hi, Ted and Fahim. Lee Hendrickson, 2019 MBA and proud associate of the Home Depot. I would love to hear a little bit more about how you bring our core value of giving back to life in this challenging economy. I know you might not get asked that question very often, but I'd love for my potential prospective fellow associates to hear more about what giving back looks like for you and how you engage with our associates in that way.
Team Depot and Homer.
So Fahim, or
Both? Either both?
either one? Well, I'd say, so we're a very active organization. The easiest thing for any big company to do is write a check. And while I gave the indication of our $500 million commitment to the military, focused on homeless vets, wounded vets, et cetera, we also give principally to disaster relief as well, and various education pursuits. And beyond writing the check, we're engaged. And there's an organization called Team Depot. So again, the things we do are hands-on. And over the country in Canada and Mexico, any given day at a store level, at a regional office level, at the store support center level, there is some project going on where we are out there, with sweat equity, in the field, actually working on projects, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of hours a year, that we give back, actually engaging in projects. We have our foundation to raise their foundation events. I mean, you can always go on, big, fancy resorts and play golf and raise money. Our foundation events, we bring our supplier partners together, and we actually go and work at VA hospitals, or we work at homeless shelters, or we find communities where veterans are living in homes that they're not able to keep up anymore. And we'll spend 2-3 days shoulder to shoulder with our partners and actually do the work. And it's amazing. You talk to these partners, and they're like, the Home Depot events are always the best because, yeah, it's great playing Pebble Beach. It's great going to the Kentucky Derby, but nowhere else do we go and spend a day and give back and work and not just write checks. And that just
so Scheller is willing to participate
all right,
in all these, and we'll collaborate on these great events. Is what I like too.
Great
so
project.
We'll do that for sure.
That would really be a great project.
Our technology team every year does 2 Habitat homes. We have now done more than 30 in Atlanta. We have a Habitat build going on right now. And that's something where we go put in the sweat equity. And that's ongoing.
Awesome.
Thank you both.
Hello, my name is Andy. I'm also first year undergrad business. At the opening bell yesterday, the story that stuck with me was the Inspire CEO talking about how he lost a lot of his money and then was able to recover. I was wondering if you had a similar situation in the past.
Well, Fahim did.
I did. And my investors and I. But really, I worked for large companies and I've been an entrepreneur. And what's important that you carry forward is that spirit, that entrepreneurial spirit. And that's key to our culture.
It's one of the values.
And that's how you create value. So it's not about the money. Money is value created. It's about creating that value and delivering on that promise. And then everything else takes care of itself.
Excellent answer. Great.
Thank you.
By the way, all these first-year students, they were in high school just a couple of months ago.
Unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
So, please, the final question for you today.
Question, last but not least. Heather Kim, Scheller College, class of 2013. I have really 2 questions. First is, what was your very first job out of school? And the second question is, where do you see yourselves in the next 3 to 5 years? And question for all 3 of you guys.
I got it. I'm supposed to be the one interviewing everybody. My first real job was really at IBM, Watson Research Center, or in academia at Carnegie Mellon. I started there. Where I see myself in 3 to 5 years? Alive, I hope, and energized to do more. I think this is Georgia Tech is a great place. I hope and I see myself at Georgia Tech continuing what I'm doing here because there's lots to do, although we are doing great. So that's where I see myself in 3 to 5 years.
And the dean and I have a similar story. My first job was in Pittsburgh at PNC Bank. I was a banker. And we lived down the street kind of from one another at the same time period, didn't know each other, but...
I was on a crawling distance. I lived crawling distance from the bar that you were at, just so that you know, yes.
So we went to some of the same haunts. And then like I said, our job as the team is to make Home Depot better and more relevant and pass it on to the next generation of leaders.
Fahim, you're in the tough spot now, last one.
So my first job was at Sprint in technology. And really, I tell Ted, I found home here. And it is now really building the company for our next generation and creating the value that we can create. This is home.
All right. Well, let's end it there, Fahim. Thank you very much for joining. And Ted,
Thank you, Dean.
Great conversation. Really enjoyed it. And indeed. Thank you. And thank you all for joining, and I really enjoyed the questions, especially from the first years. So on October 1st, we'll continue this series, of course. On October 1st, our distinguished guests will be Chloe Barzy, Atlanta Office Managing Director at Accenture, Tiffany Burns, Office Managing Partner at McKinsey & Company, and Permit Grover, Managing Director and Senior Partner at the Boston Consulting Group. So we hope you will join us then as well and continue to ask questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Oh, that was terrific. Really enjoyed it. Really, Fahim.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Yeah.